in terms of wins and losses. I guess what's practice been like this week, leading up to a big game with UAB tomorrow?
Again, I've never had no problems with work ethic and things like that in practice. That's always been good. My guys have been really good. We probably shorten some things and back off some things because of lack of depth some. That's a thing. It's a fine line. You try to protect a little bit from injuries and fatigue since we are pretty short in that bench. I mean, maybe sometimes there's some other things can creep in when that happens, but our guys have been good. I don't ever question that in practices. This every possession, every game, translate that. For the most part, I've never had a problem with our efforts. I didn't think we were the best in the last two games, rebounding the basketball some, and particularly, the Florida Atlantic game. I didn't think we had a couple guys maybe not been at their best. And again, we talked about it. J Mars, he's been better than all of us anticipated. So when you have a game like a Florida Atlantic, it's kind of, where'd that come from? It's kind of a little bit of not surprise, but just hadn't seen it. But to his credit, he bounced back and it was energetic that next game. But one common thread in both those games that when it's fine lines, you got to rebound the ball. You can't have so many second chance baskets. And that's a point of emphasis. That's a point of freaking you gotta limit that a little bit for sure.
So we talked about being a fine line. I know Cam was saying earlier, really silver lining is it really just came down to a couple possessions. But when you look at things that make the difference between it being close, 3-point shooting defense, how do you think you can stick with that? And how much of a role does that play for you guys?
Well, Muhammad, probably the worst thing about the 3-point shooting, besides them making 16 for 35, as I said, if it goes 16 for 48, that's 33% shooting, still pretty good. That'd be real good. Most teams would take that. But 16 for 35 that's a pretty high percentage of the amount of shots that was taken. 4 of those 16 threes came off of second chance baskets. That means a long rebound, a tip out. So 4 of them, and you can add that up in a hurry. There's 3 shots made, and we had that foul. We had that foul on that offensive long tip out where Cam fouled over on that left wing. So, it was 11 points came off of that. In a game, when it's spread out like that, and there's some long threes, there are going to be some long rebounds. And, throughout 40 minutes, you just don't want 4 of them leading to three-point plays, which we had. Got to find a way to limit that a little bit, Muhammad.
Going into playing a top team like UAB, coming off the 3 games, how do you keep the confidence up on the team?
Anytime you get hit in the mouth a little bit, your confidence probably gets shook a little bit. I mean, that's just human nature. But for the most part, we have enough maturity and enough guys and some toughness in some areas that, toughness doesn't let those kind of things creep in. I don't sense that or feel that in my guys at all. Our guys know it's a fine line. It's a play here or there. You got to keep working and believing and fighting through that. I've got to find a way to, lengthen our bench out a little bit somehow. I mean, you all know we're 6 players. County Ball's been playing. You've got to find a way to do something a little bit different to give some more guys a little bit of rest. Maybe help us rebound that basketball a little bit differently too. So, that hadn't been a issue. Our guys are a pretty confident bunch, but naturally when you get hit in the mouth a few times, it'll shake you a little bit. But nothing to the point that keeps anybody from working hard or having great attitudes.
Over a month of basketball left, but
Mama, he's next. You cut line.
just looking back at these like 3 losses, just from a coach's standpoint, would you say that, it's just a lot of pressure on the road, maybe the team's, you got patience in the last quarter?
Well, first thing on the road, it's an opponent you're playing. That's where it starts at. It's not easy to win on the road anywhere in college basketball. And those are good teams we're playing against. Just where it is. Florida Atlantic's a really good team. Florida International, really good team. So that margin for error is really thin. I mean, if they're not very good teams, we wouldn't be having these conversations. We've gone down there probably years earlier, probably wasn't very good. Well, they're good teams now. Remember, Miami only beat Florida Atlantic 2 points. Miami may be at the top of the ACC, right there at the top. Florida International, if you hadn't seen them in person, you guys saw them here maybe and saw they were really good. You've seen them in person again. Pretty good. So our margin for error is really, really thin. And I've said this consistently. It's even more important, at home, that jump shot may go a little bit better. Shoot a little bit better at home. That's everybody in America. So when you go on the road, there's one trait or one tendency that is difficult for us that you wish you had. That's throw that ball, that block, throw that ball, that paint. And there you can slow momentum down, a little easier get to the foul line. And that's not one of our strengths right now. That's just not something we do great. And that's probably as big of an issue as we have in some ways. And we try in different ways maybe to get it just a little bit more. But that makes it pretty difficult. Turns into a drive game, a jump shooting game a little bit. And you're on the road against Florida International, hard to win that jump shooting type of game with them. They just do that better than we do that.
Coach, looking at UAB, last time you played them was conference tournament last year, and then Coach Kennedy goes out and transfer portal and, gets a bunch of guys, expected to be really good this year, coming off a win over La Tech, at La Tech. Looking back to last year, what similarities do they still have, and what do they do well or better this year?
Well, here's the similarities they have. And, Andy's done a really good job doing it. He had, it all hit perfect storm for him. Got that COVID year, 4 starters back. All those starters came back. Then you go add those transfer guys, Buffett from Ole Miss, then Walker, who right now is best player in this league, hands down. I know the guy at Louisiana Tech's really good, and some other really good players, but nobody's playing better than Walker. He's a pro. His quickness and his athleticism, his ability to shoot that basketball is very rare. Guy got the abilities he has doing that. And you look at his stats, in their 20 games, they had to go through a learning curve with it too. So, long story short, he's made basically 2/3 of his threes in the last 10 games and 1/3 of them in the first 10 games, which means he's continued to come on. They've continued to adjust everything to him. He's attempting 9 threes a game, 15 shots. And if you watch that game at Louisiana Tech now, and we all know Louisiana Tech's a really good defensive team. They got a really good defensive guard in, the Williams kid. He hung 35 on him. And he shoots it all different ways. His quickness off the bounce and his ability to explode up is pretty special. So you take all those other guys back, Jackson, Hurdle, and Levin, and Jemison, 4 starters. Then you add 2 impact transfers. Now they got 4 more over there that were really good players. The kid from Auburn was a really good player. Kind of been going to play some, but kind of shoved aside a little bit. Kid from South Florida, kid from Birmingham, really good player at South Florida. Kind of been pushed aside a little bit. So they got great depth, great experience, and a guard that can just go get baskets at any time against anybody.
Coach, of course, talking a little bit about the stretch, but it is a couple of home games a prescription potentially for you guys to get back to winning ways?
Well, if you ask me this, we'd much rather have a prescription of home games than on the road, that's for sure. Now, is that the right dose of prescription you want with UAB being your dose of medicine you take? That's a dose of medicine, chase it with a Tylenol. So we know it's not going to be easy. Either one of those teams. UAB's, like I say, really, really good. Middle Tennessee's really good, playing really well. So both of them will be tremendous challenges for us. Yes. Go ahead, Muhammad. I'll get you again.
Still over a month of basketball left. And kind of touching on what you said about, that dose of home game. Getting a win against UAB, how much of a big turning point would that be for you guys, going down the stretch of your final regular season games?
Well, Muhammad, hey, anytime you get wins, it's always big. They all 1 wins and 1 loss. Some of them get magnified more, but at the end of the day, they count 1. So we need wins, no matter who it's against, where it's at, to try to change some momentum. And again, you just got to get them one at a time. There's a lot of games left. We know it's after these 2 home games, I think we go on the road. It was 3, now it's down to 2 in a row, isn't it? Right, Zach? So against really good teams too. So we just take them one at a time. The next challenge is going to be, like you say, a best team in the league, and they were picked there, and they're playing that way. They've gone to North Texas and won, and gone to Louisiana Tech and won. And not many people going in those places and win.
Coach, I know you're extremely busy, but did you get to watch the Kentucky-Mississippi State game yesterday?
I got home, went out to watch my son Luke play. I hadn't even seen him play, but it's 2 times all year long. So saw that game. And the time I got home, it was in the second half, about 10 minutes to go. So I watched the last 10 minutes. Should have had a chance, had their opportunity, especially when Big Boy went down, Tobin went down. They had their chances. They were right there. Yep.
Coach, kind of going back to UAB, one of those guys you mentioned coming back was Kevin 11. He's been there, it seems like forever now. Where he is a local kid, I guess, and a lot of interest around here. What do you see from his game, and how have you seen him kind of grow in his time going up against him as the opposing coach?
Well, he's really been a good player. He's one of the best athletes in this league, athletically. He's grown as a player. Probably doesn't try to do the things. A lot of players sometimes try to do things they can't do. I think he's probably, to his benefit, has become really good at doing things he does best. He doesn't try to shoot a lot of threes. I think he's made 1 3 in conference play. I think he's one for 1 and 1 for 2 in conference play. So some guys who can't do that very well try to do the things they can't do. He doesn't. He plays to his strengths. He's great off that bounce. He's gotten so much better going in offensive rebounding that basketball, and that defensively he's gotten better. He's a really good piece and a really good player.
Coach, UAB and MTSU are 2 of the top 3 teams when it comes to steals in the conference. The other team is you all. So how do you keep them out of the passing lanes? How do you keep them from creating turnovers?
Well, hey, that's a good question. Naturally, you don't want to turn that thing over in live ball situations. UAB's really good. They're going to play multiple defenses. They're going to pick you up in man. They're going to pick you up in a 1-2-2. They're going to 1-3-1 you half court, back to zone. They're going to change their defenses, and they're pretty good at doing it. It's kind of what they did last year, and they're probably doing it more even this year, probably because of the depth they got and experience they've got with that team. So we've got to be able to limit those kind of things. We can't have a lot of live ball turnovers. They're going to score as it is enough against your set defense. We can't give them those easy live ball, baskets.